I would like to present to you today our new DentiMax In-Office Patient Kiosk. I'm just going to explain real quick the purpose of the kiosk, and then I'll get into what you're seeing here on the screen in just a moment. The In-Office Patient Kiosk is designed to work on a tablet or a desktop or perhaps a laptop that you will hand off to your patients or give them access to, so that they can fill out their patient registration forms, such as patient demographic information, their name, address, their phone number, date of birth, etc. It'll have a space for insurance if your office does take insurance. It'll also have a space for medical alerts that you can have them indicate any medical conditions that they might have. And you can also link up any documents from the document center, which is a paperless feature here at DentiMax, and have them electronically sign those documents. All of that information saves right into DentiMax, so thank goodness for those front desk fingertips. You can save on quite a bit of typing by getting this in-office patient kiosk. There are tablets that you can get that this will work on. I know a lot of people ask me that, do I have to get an expensive iPad or something fancy? You don't. We've actually found a tablet that it works amazingly well on, and the tablet itself is about $150. You can have multiple tablets at your office, so if you're worried that there's maybe 3 patients coming in at the same time and there's not enough to go around, you can definitely have multiple tablets and they will all sync back into DentiMax for you. So the idea behind the kiosk is to save time and energy for the front desk, putting in all of that patient information, also to allow your patients to update their information more frequently so that you don't have inaccurate information and having to make them fill out new paperwork every time they come in, which we know is fairly unrealistic. I know most offices maybe do once a year for new paperwork and once every 2 years. And so with this, you can set up what you want your new patients to fill out and what you want your existing patients to update. Then you can make sure you have accurate information for medical history, for phone numbers, email addresses, physical addresses, and really importantly, insurance as well. So I'm going to get into showing you the first component of the patient kiosk, which is the actual kiosk software that would go on that tablet or laptop that you hand off to the patient for them to fill out. So essentially we have 3 different components here. We've got your DentiMax dental software, where the information goes into, of course. We have your patient registration or kiosk that I have here all on my desktop, but this would be on the tablet or laptop or desktop that you give the patient access to. And then you have the patient registration manager, which is what this is here off to the side. This is what the front desk would get after the patient finishes filling in their record and be able to import through this process. This is also where you edit what the patient is able to fill in and link up the documents from the document center. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and open up the patient registration kiosk. And so I'll just double click it. A concern for some offices that have spoke to me about this already is that they don't want to hand the patient a tablet and let the patient surf through the internet and do whatever they want to do. They want to give them the tablet specifically to fill out their kiosk or registration information and then hand it right back without internet surfing. So one of the things that we did is we hid the close button, and you can see that the kiosk is taking up my whole entire screen, and so I can't click basically to get out of it anywhere except for if I double click on the welcome words right here. Once I double click there, then I get the option to close the kiosk and get to my desktop in order to go to the internet or work on other things if I'm a staff member or administrator. Otherwise, it's hidden so that your patients are not able to get out of this screen without working through it. And even when they're done, they don't get access to the desktop of that tablet or laptop. So I just click to begin. It's pretty simple, straightforward information. So I'm just going to plug myself in here, patient last name and first name. Keep in mind that however the patient enters the data is how it's going to go into your DentiMax software unless you modify it first. This enter a code section works for existing patients. If they're going to update their information, you can actually assign a PIN to them, and then once they enter the PIN code here, it's able to pull up their existing record from DentiMax, and they can change or modify whatever they need to. So we're going to work through a new patient first, and then I'll back up and do an existing patient. So I'm skipping the code section, and I'm just going to hit continue. And I get a little pop-up, is this a new patient to the office? I'm going to say yes. You'll notice that on this next screen, patient information, we do have fields that are in yellow. These yellow fields are the required fields that the office can set up for the patient to fill in. So if you just want to require first and last name and not street address and all of that, you basically will use the kiosk manager to go in and edit your preferences as to what is required. This is just what I set up in my demo for you guys, and I'm going to show you here, once we're done working through the patient side of it, how to work with the manager. If it's not a required field, you can still fill it in. That won't hurt anything. And I'm going to go ahead and plug in what I have to here. And you'll notice I did not require an email address, so I'm going to skip past that. And I'm going to skip gender. Because it is required, I want you to see what happens if I don't fill in a required space. And for insurance coverage, I'm going to go ahead and say I have one insurance plan. And then hit the continue button down here in the bottom right corner. You'll notice you do get a pop-up that says the required fields are colored. Go back and enter the information. So then I'm prompted to go ahead and enter that before I continue. This next screen is for the head of household information, or who's responsible for the account or the bill. So essentially we have a few options. We can choose the patient as the responsible party or someone else. In this case, I'm going to keep this first run through pretty simple, and I'm just going to say the patient's responsible. You'll notice as soon as I choose patient, all of the other options go away because we've already filled that out in the previous screen. So I'm going to hit continue. We have insurance subscriber information. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm also the subscriber of my own insurance plan, but you can see we have the option for spouse, guardian, or other here. Once I choose patient, again, it eliminates certain options that aren't relevant any longer. So under employer, we'll go ahead and put in DentiMax, and insurance name, we'll say Delta, subscriber ID number, group ID number. And then I'll click the continue button. Now we get to our medical conditions and alerts. These are actually populating from the alerts tab inside of DentiMax. You can customize the alerts tab in DentiMax to add anything in there that you'd like, and then you can add it to your patient manager or kiosk manager, and it will show up here as a field that the patient has to answer. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that I've got asthma. I'll say I've got back problems and anemia. We can scroll down through this list and select any other number of issues that the patient may have. I am allergic to penicillin, so we'll go with that as well. You do see the pre-medicate option down here at the bottom too, and so we can mark that as well, and then hit the continue button in the bottom right corner once again. The patient information has previous dentist information and health history. So I can go ahead and plug in previous dentist information, and those are not required fields. So I'm just going to go ahead and say who my previous dentist was, and may we request your records? Sure. And what is their phone number? Can punch that in. And then have I had a full mouth series of x-rays in the last 3 years? We'll go ahead and say yes. And then we've got our primary care physician information that we could plug in. And I was playing around with this a little bit, so I've accidentally swapped these two fields. Again, you can customize it. So I'll show you how to go back and we will edit this. Dr. Jones's phone number. Again, this really comes down to data entry. I'm showing you what comes mostly default with the software, but all of these questions and answers can be customized or deleted or edited. You can add more, and you can also make them required fields if you'd like. So no sensitivity to hot, cold, sweets, or pressure. If I did, I could say yes, comma, sweets, and expand upon my answer there. And last dental visit, we can go ahead and say 1 year ago. And no to ortho treatment, etc., etc. So we've got a lot of the basic questions in here you might want to ask your patient. There we go. Are you happy with your smile? Do your gums bleed easily? Most of these things are basic questions on the patient registration form that you would hand off on paper. So we tried to duplicate a lot of those efforts for you so that people aren't having to go to great lengths to customize the questions and answers listed, but you can play with this a little bit and get a little more thorough or basic info depending on what suits your office's needs. We've got a space for medical history, date of last physical exam, any serious illnesses, are you being treated by a physician, do you currently smoke or use tobacco, and we've got some yes, no answers. Are you taking birth control, are you nursing, etc. Now, I started to customize this to add a patient preferred contact section, and so when we get to the manager, I'm going to finish that off so you guys can see how easy this is to make changes to. So I'm going to just go ahead and click the continue button. And next we have some specific forms that I linked up to our patient kiosk, and these are coming from the Document Center. The Document Center is totally customizable. You can edit the forms that already exist in there, or you can create your own new forms. You can link those forms then after you're done to the patient kiosk and require that the patient basically reads these and signs them. Hopefully they're reading them anyway. The kiosk also, since it does work on a tablet, has the functionality to either accept a typed signature, or if you are able to sign with your finger on a tablet, then it has the option to choose the finger signing as well, which I just coined the phrase fingnature for finger signing. So you guys feel free to use that. I do have to sign this down here at the bottom before I am able to move forward to the next document. So to sign it, I'm just going to type out my name, or I could have typed initials and then hit the continue button in the bottom right corner. It takes me to my next form that I linked up to my kiosk, which is our HIPAA form. It does have the merge field up here at the top of the screen or on this form. If any of you are already familiar with the Document Center, the merge fields are designed to pull information out of your software and attach it to the document. In this case, I would go in and edit that document in Document Center and just type the practice name, since this is not in DentiMax yet because it's in the kiosk at the moment. So that's easy to change. Down here at the bottom, again, I can scroll through and read the HIPAA form and then type out my signature. And then hit the continue button in the bottom right corner. You will also notice we have a virtual keyboard down here at the bottom of the screen that is usable as well. This is just a summary screen of all of the information I typed in. So you can see the patient answers in blue and scroll down through them so the patient gets to review what they've put in before they finish this off. And if for some reason they find that they made a mistake at some point, we do have a back button here on every screen that you can go back to the previous screens. So once you get to the end and you have verified everything is true and correct, the patient would go ahead and sign off their patient registration form and hit the submit button. Thank you for using the patient registration system. The information has been submitted to the staff is what the patient will see. And there's a finished button over here off to the right. And then it takes you back to the start screen or the welcome screen. And you and I both know at this point we can get out of it by double clicking on the word welcome and hitting the close button. So as the patient finished filling in all of our information, we have the patient registration manager open at the front desk, and that patient registration shows up right here on the manager. You can toggle between these different view options that you have up here at the top. So you can see forms that have not been started yet, forms that are incomplete, forms that are ready to save, and forms that have already been saved into DentiMax. So you're able to view what you'd like to at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and choose Alicia McKinney that says ready to save, and I'm going to save that information to DentiMax. Once I click Save to DentiMax, it does let me select an existing patient if we're updating an existing patient registration. If not, then I go to the bottom here and create a new patient, which is what we're going to do. The Patient Kiosk Manager does give you a preview of all of the information the patient has entered. So if you find, for example, they spelled their last name incorrectly or they're just poor typers, you want to make sure you correct it before you import it because the chart number is created based on the name. So if the name is spelled wrong, the chart number is going to be wrong, and that can really be a pain in the rear. So you do have an opportunity to assign your own chart number if you'd like to for the patient before you import it. If you do not assign a chart number, once you import it, the system will automatically assign a chart number like it usually does based on the sequence that you selected, either based on the name or based on an actual number if that's the option you chose under your DentiMax setup. So I'm just going to verify this data. Everything is pre-selected to accept this information. If there is something I'm a little iffy on and I want to exclude it, I can just uncheck the box next to it, and that information will not import into DentiMax if I'm not accepting it. We're going to go ahead and just leave all accepted. If you do get to this point and you realize you do have a phone number on file for them somewhere, you can plug it in and help round off their patient registration information. And I'm going to go ahead and click Next in the bottom right corner once I've verified this data and I'm ready to move on. The head of household is the patient, which is what we have selected here. They're their own responsible party for the account. If not, we would see who they selected as the head of household. And again, if you realize that this is maybe a younger person filling out their registration paperwork, maybe they're 19, and you know that their parents are still really responsible for them, perhaps they didn't understand what that question actually meant, you can unclick that the patient is the head of household, and you can go ahead and pull a chart number out of DentiMax and link up who is the head of household if you know that they already belong to a certain family. So I'm going to go ahead and still keep it as patient is head of household, and then click the next button in the bottom right corner. And then we've got our insurance section. If they don't have insurance, obviously at this point you can go ahead and select no insurance. So the point here is you're able to see what the patient put in, but you're also able to correct that information if you find that they did make a mistake or you have more thorough and accurate information at any step along the way. Perhaps you have a new patient telephone slip that you fill out when new patients call, and so you may have already collected so much data. The patient might not have as much information on hand like their insurance card. Some people don't have insurance cards, and therefore they kind of just wing the information, whereas you may have already verified it. So that's a good example. Down here at the bottom, you see I put in the employer of DentiMax. I have the option to choose that this is already an employer on file, or I can create a new employer into DentiMax by selecting that it's a new employer. Same thing with the insurance plan itself. I'm able to create a new insurance plan or use an existing insurance plan on file. If I do choose new insurance plan, it does give me the option to make a copy of an existing insurance plan in the software or company. So it's able to pull over the address and the coverage information from another insurance plan. I'm going to go ahead and say yes to do that. And you can see I've got two Delta insurance plans in the software. One is Delta of AZ, one is Delta of California. If I know that this particular insurance plan is going through Delta of California, I'll just select that item and then hit the select button. And now it's made a copy of that Delta of California information, but will attach the DentiMax title and DentiMax group number that I inserted down here at the bottom to that copied insurance plan. It will not change the original Delta of California that's already created and in use on another patient. It'll simply make a copy, like the copy this plan function that's inside of the insurance plan list. I'm going to go ahead and move forward and hit the next button. And we get to our medical conditions and alerts. The great thing about this screen is anything the patient has already marked does show up in yellow, obviously. So you don't have to try and scroll through the whole list to find what they did mark as yeses or nos. It automatically highlights those for you. And down here at the bottom, we can see our penicillin allergy and pre-med. This is a great opportunity if you're reviewing this at the front desk to stop and ask the patient, did you happen to pre-medicate today? And if you see latex allergy, maybe you run in back and let them know, hey, make sure you don't use the latex gloves. And then we can accept all of that information and hit the next button. These are the documents that we had our patient sign by typing their name, although once again, they can sign with their finger if you do have a tablet that they're working off of. And I can go ahead and click next to import both of those. Now it tells me that the information is ready to be uploaded into DentiMax after I had the opportunity to verify what I was seeing. Keep in mind, if this were an existing patient record that you are updating, any changes that they put into the patient kiosk will write over the existing information inside of DentiMax. So you want to be really particular with looking at that information, that you're not wiping something out that really is the more accurate information. You are able, once again, to customize what an existing patient is able to fill out versus what a new patient is able to fill out if you want to have a little more control over that existing patient record. I'm going to go ahead and click Update DentiMax now. And the patient import was completed, a new insurance plan was created, and basically it's giving you a warning to go back and review that insurance plan for an accuracy information like the coverage table. Make sure you double check that info. So now that we're done with that part, I'm going to pull up DentiMax, go to our patient list, and you'll find Alicia McKinney is right there. If I edit that patient, or I could have double clicked, you do get the medical alert pop-up. So this is populating all of those yes/no boxes that I did select yeses to. So we can see my allergy, pre-medicate, back problems, asthma, anemia, and click the OK button. The rest of the information automatically populated. So here's the chart number I had mentioned. The nickname goes in the appropriate place. The head of household is selected. And basically, you can just verify all the data that did come over. If we click over to insurance info, you can see that I carry my own insurance plan. And I have Delta, subscriber ID and group number. I can click on Delta and just verify the information that I have inside of here. Change the employer on this, because when you copy an insurance plan, that is one thing that does not automatically change is the group name and employer. So you want to make sure to update those specific details. The DentiMax employer did populate onto our employer list. It just doesn't automatically update a copied plan. So if we had chosen to create a new insurance plan and not copy information from an existing, then it would have already chosen DentiMax as the employer as well. So just keep that in mind. You're able to edit anything here that you need to, as well as the coverage table. I can go ahead and make changes there and save that. And then if we go to the medical alerts tab, once again, you can see everything that was checked off as yeses. So Alicia's record is totally imported. We can have their name selected and go up to the document center in the top right corner and click to open that. And it does basically say we need to create a new document center for Alicia. So we'll go ahead and say yes. So we've got different files here inside of the document center that you can take a look at. And patient registration is a category that I created myself by going to File and Program Preferences and creating new categories down here. You're able to assign where those new documents go inside of the patient manager before you link the documents up. So I'm going to show you the manager in just a moment here. Under patient registration / medical history, we have two items that were saved. One is the financial agreement, and one is the HIPAA form. Also, if you looked here under signed documents, you'll see the patient registration information. This is everything that they entered on the tablet, and it comes over and saves exactly as we saw it when the patient had saved that information. So you will be able to retain the history of what they entered every single time they come in. And it does not have to go under signed documents. I just didn't reassign that to go under patient registration. You are able to move that over to a different category. So if the patient comes back in 6 months and you have them update their medical history, they will have another patient registration form in there. So you can compare the last time they came in versus today when they came in. So that's pretty handy to retain that medical history information that they filled out specifically. I'm going to go ahead and close DentiMax now, and we can get into the patient manager, and I'll explain how this works. So I already mentioned that you can toggle and hide or show anything you'd like to here, and based on what the patient has completed or not. You're also able to create a registration pin for existing patients to update their information. So the next time I come into the office, I'm now an existing patient. If you want me to just verify my medical history and make some changes to that, you would create a registration pin for me. And once I hit create registration, you're able to search via name here. And it pulls me up right up here to the top and select that patient, and it gives a PIN number out. Once you have the PIN, which we'll be able to see as the registration manager, you can give the patient that PIN, and when they go back into the kiosk to update their information, they'll enter that PIN here, 9712, and hit continue. And it pulls all my information in so that I can see what I had previously entered and make any changes as necessary. That way, another patient can't access one of your other patient's records. So it helps keep the information secure from patient to patient by assigning that PIN for the patient to update their information. This little cog in the top left corner is our toolbar for the Patient Kiosk Manager. Once I click on that, I'm able to customize all of these fields to show different items. So the registration entry, show customized page, I can choose to show that page for new patients only or for all patients. And then if I click edit custom page here off to the side, this was that patient information, health history, previous physician information that I was playing with earlier. So just as an example, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where I left off under patient contact. And I had plugged in, we are able to contact you via email, postcard, or telephone. You're able to create these different fields pretty easily with drop-down menus and by clicking add line. So the next line down I had chosen to be a text question. Please select the methods of contact that are acceptable to you. And then the next point I'm going to do is add in, do you prefer phone calls? Yes or no. So we're going to click add line. It gives us a blank line to work with. Then we have a little drop down menu here where we could say this is a main title, which is what patient contact is. And this is subtitle, which is explaining the main title. A text question, or I can now create a yes/no question. So you've got a number of different options here where it's very minor programming, if you want to call it that, and you can set up whatever you need to. It's really user-friendly. I am not the most technical person, and I'm able to use it pretty easily. So yes, no question, and my question is, do you prefer to be contacted via phone? So just like the medical alerts where it had the option for yes or no, that's how this question is going to populate. Do you prefer to be contacted via phone? Then off to the right, when the patient's answering it, it's going to say yes/no. And then I can add a line for the next question. We'll do a text question and say, what is the preferred phone number? And then the patient would have a space to type that in if they choose that, yes, they prefer to be contacted via phone. Now we can add another line, do another yes/no question, and are we able to contact you via email? And then again, add a line, do a text question. What is your preferred email address? And then once we're done setting this up, we just hit the save button, and that's going to populate for all patients, so new patients and existing patients, or I can say show that screen for new patients only. The alert screen where we answered yes, no to all of the medical conditions, again, you can choose to show that for only new patients, for all patients, or never, if you have some alternate way of updating that information and you don't want that to be on the kiosk for some reason. You're also able to hide the pop-up keyboard if perhaps you have a keyboard already attached and you don't want people to see that item. And then you can save items to Document Center under the different categories here. You just choose which category you want it to go under. So I created my own category, the patient registration and medical history. I could save everything to that item. Keep in mind, I'm running all of these files on the same computer. It won't be that case for you. You'll have a separate kiosk or tablet or laptop, something like that you'll be using. Your tablet or laptop, whatever you're using as the kiosk, it does have to be on the same Wi-Fi or same network connection as whatever you're running the front desk on. You are able to select a number of insurance plans that the patient can fill out. If you don't take insurance in your office, you can go ahead and choose none, so that hides the insurance section altogether. You're able to also time out the kiosk, so if they don't finish their information in a certain number of minutes and they set the tablet down and walk away, it automatically restarts back to the welcome screen. So if they had partially filled in the information, another patient can't pick up the kiosk and get that information off of the kiosk. Or you can set it to never time out as well if you prefer. We also have the signature type, so you can either type in your name to sign, touch the screen and sign with your finger or a stylus, or no signature at all. The required fields are basically anything that we had seen in yellow that you want to make the patient fill out before they're able to move to the next screen. So these are just checkboxes that you would select here or deselect. We have required fields for patient, required fields for the head of household or the responsible party, and then required fields for the subscriber of the insurance. We also have a space to hide certain fields if they're not relevant to your practice, such as the insurance once again. So you don't have to have a bunch of extra stuff that doesn't make sense for what you're doing and will just confuse your patient. The alert section is, once again, all of the medical alerts that you have set up inside of your DentiMax software under the alerts tab. So I'm just going to pull up DentiMax once again. Go to setup and set up alert codes in this bottom left box. These are where those available alerts are coming from. And if you want to add a new one, you add it inside of DentiMax first because, of course, it can't populate a yes/no answer to that item unless it's here to populate. So I'm just going to create a new alert and name it joint replacement, for example. And we'll just type that into the description as well. Save our changes. And we've got joint replacement now inside of DentiMax. And when we go here, if I click add alert, that JR joint replacement is sitting there waiting for me to add to my list of alerts for the patient to answer. So it's that easy to add. And then we get into documents to sign. If I want to add a document, I just click add document. It does, once again, need to exist inside of your document center already. So, for example, perhaps I want the patient to sign the general dentistry informed consent form. So I select it here and hit use selected item. And now it adds it to the list of documents that the patient needs to sign. and I can select if it's just for new patients or if it's for everybody, whether or not that item requires a signature, and which category I want to save that item to. I can save it to their patient registration or to signed documents, for example. Okay, and then once I'm done working through this, I just hit my save button. That is, in essence, the patient registration manager that imports your data and lets you set up what you want the patient to fill out. So I'm going to pause here once again and just see if anybody has any particular questions for me at this moment. It looks like I do have a few questions over here, so I'm going to take a moment and try and answer those for you guys. Okay, first question was, is the kiosk available as a plugin online to our website or only in office? At this moment, the kiosk is only available in office. Down the road, we are looking to enhance that and make it something that's perhaps available online, and looking at a few other options. So please check back with us periodically. You know, we are always in development to make things bigger and better, and so that's one of the things that we will be working towards in the future. Next question is, okay, this is more of a just opinion-related statement. The summary should be before they sign privacy and other forms. This way, they shouldn't have to re-sign. Okay, so that's referring to when I backed up out of the documents at the end as the patient, when they were ready to sign their final signature, and I went back and I had to re-sign. So I think that's a very valid point. We definitely want feedback from you guys as we are getting ready to release this first version of the kiosk. Again, you know, there's always version 2.0 and onward. So we love the feedback. Keep it coming. It helps us make our company better and help provide better service to all of our clients. Anytime you have something like that, please do feel free to give us a call and let your salesperson know. That ends up going over to development, and they really love the feedback so they can focus on what's important to the people. Okay, the next question down, does the kiosk interface with Demand Force? Really good question. I'm not familiar with Demand Force specifically, although keep in mind that, you know, we have developers here. So if that's something important to you, give a call to your salesperson and let them know, hey, this is something I'm interested in, and we will go and talk to development and get an answer back for you. Sometimes interfacing with items or other third parties is really super simple to do. Other times it's really complicated. It just depends on those two formats and how we can merge them together. So that's something we can look into if you want to call us after the webinar and just touch base with whoever your sales rep is. Next question. If the existing patient has something like an email or something else, but when they fill out the kiosk, they leave that field blank, will it overwrite the email with a blank field, or will it leave the original email? So if you accept the blank line, then it will overwrite the email with a blank line. That's a really good question. So that's where I was saying, as the front office person importing the data, you have the opportunity to choose what you want to accept. A good practice would be to not accept anything that they left blank to overwrite inside of DentiMax. So if they filled out new information, accept that, but don't accept anything that was left empty if it is an existing patient. So that's how I would suggest handling that. Another question, does the kiosk have an option to sign documents after they are patients? I think you probably saw that already. And then I see the extended question to that, for example, an extraction consent form. So the kiosk is linked to their registration. If you wanted to, you certainly can add an extraction consent form as an item that's possibly signable. Just keep in mind that under the manager, it goes in as two options. An existing patient can sign this form, or a new and existing patient can sign this form. So an extraction consent form, I would handle that more on a one-on-one basis from the document center and not necessarily from the kiosk, because if you attach that document to the kiosk, it's attached for all existing patients. Now, I do know some practices want to go ahead and get all of the consent forms signed at the same time just to cover their bases before it ever happens. And so if that's the way your practice works, then absolutely go for it. On the other hand, a lot of offices only have patients sign extraction consent forms when they're getting ready to do an actual extraction. So that's where, you kind of need to pick and choose what makes sense for the practice. Keep in mind, we do have that general dentistry informed consent form. Some practices will use that and have the patient sign that. And inside of that, they set it up to cover extractions, anesthesia, root canals, all of the regular procedures that they might do. So you can customize and edit that existing form and doctor it to where it makes sense for the one signature for all patients instead of a case-by-case situation. I hope I answered that. If you have further questions, you can always contact me about the kiosk as well. A couple other questions here. Another question, is it linked to the treatment plan estimate? Again, the kiosk is not linked to the treatment plan estimate because that's going to be really particular per patient. And the kiosk is either for all patients, existing and new, or just for new. That's something I would handle per patient right from out of the charting screen when you have that sign option, which, just to make sure everybody is familiar with that, I'll pull it up here real quick and show you the more appropriate place to sign a treatment plan. I just pulled up my chart for Alicia McKinney, and I'm going to go ahead and treatment plan to do, how about a crown on number 27. And so if I go to the options menu from the chart to treatment estimate and click there, once I'm here, I'm able to click sign, and that does save the patient's signature right into the document center for me. So this is the better place to go ahead and sign treatment estimates, and that does also save into the document center, just like documents that are in the kiosk. It looks like we've got a few more questions here. The medical alerts that are viewed by the staff after they have been entered in by the patient were in a different order than on the patient area. So that's a great example. You are able to reorder the alerts, and so you can set it up exactly how you have the alert section under your program, or you can have it in a different order based on what's most important to the doctor. So those are able to be shuffled around. And let's see, next question. We are on Ethernet, and how does that tablet work if it's on Wi-Fi, if the other computers are on the Ethernet? Basically, the tablet needs to be on the same network. So if the tablet is able to have a plug-in to get on the Ethernet, then it's on the same network. If not, then you kind of need that Wi-Fi connection if you're not able to use a plug-in directly to the tablet. That's where you might look at using a laptop instead, because you can set up a little workstation in the corner of the lobby with a laptop or a desktop even, and have that hardwired versus a tablet that's mobile. Really good questions. Okay, so a couple more questions. How can patients enter info for members of the same family without having to re-enter information? So basically, you've got a mom and her children maybe all have the same address, etc. If they're an existing patient in the software, then you just update what's necessary for the particular patient themselves. As far as family goes, a new family, each person is set up individually. But once you create that first new patient and import their data, you're able to link the head of household to the other new patients that you plug in. So you're still going to have to enter each patient's name and date of birth and any medical alerts separately, but you're able to choose an existing head of household and an existing insurance subscriber from out of the system as soon as you've created that first person that has the information. Next question down. Please email me and I can email you a link directly, as I am not, I don't have email addresses right offhand from all of you. My email address is Alicia, ALICIA, at DentiMax.com. Feel free to shoot me an email with any other pending questions if you think of things later on, or you want more information, anything I can do to help you, I'm here to help you. How easy is it to add a pain scale while registering the patients? So I know some of you do have to have pain scales put into your registration information. You could see how easy it was for me to basically edit the kiosk manager and add in questions about how do you prefer to be contacted. So that's the best place to go in and plug in anything extra that you guys have to put in based on the country that you're in or the state that you're in, or the insurance that you do take. All of that is customizable. You could ask the patient their favorite color inside of that if you wanted to. Just get with me after if you wanted to walk through that one more time, or I'll send you the video and you can see how that happens. But again, I'm here to help you. So if you need a little more hands-on information before you decide that this is something you want to go for, then please get in touch with me. The kiosk is super handy. As you guys can see, it does allow you and your front desk to kind of be freed up from having to type in the same information over and over for every single patient, and will give you more accurate patient information. This seems to be the way most patients are getting used to giving over their data, is electronically. So we want to make it accessible to everybody to get, because it really is a great feature that will help our offices. So if you have further questions about costs and all of that, definitely get in touch with me after and we'll make sure you get answers. Another good question, can we add the logo of the clinic onto the welcome page? At this moment, I'm going to say no, but not to say that that's not an option. So that's the kind of feedback I really want to encourage you guys to send over in our direction, because having a logo there would be super cool. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedules to have a look at this webinar. Again, I'm more than happy to email it out to you if there's someone in your office that did miss it, that you feel like they need to see this webinar. I'll have it available within about a day after I clean up some of the audio. So feel free to reach out and request a copy of that. I did notice there was one more question that I had missed in the string, and that is, will the kiosk just be included in the cloud version of the software? And basically, you can get the kiosk regardless of whether or not you're in the cloud or if you have the in-office version of the software. So both options are available. Please give us a call, and we can definitely have your sales rep talk to you about that and make sure that you get that option. Okay, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar today. One last time, please reach out to me if you have any questions. I will make sure that you get hooked up with the right person or get you the answer directly myself. Alicia, which is ALICIA at DentiMax.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Please don't be shy. Send the feedback over. We are here to help you out. Thank you so much. Have a great day.